but since then, we've not been able to witness that at all. But the Senna is locked in the end, so that'll go the way of Loken.
I'm going to be interested to see what they pair with this Senna, though. We've seen a lot of Nautiluses coming in to be paired with it. I'm not the biggest fan of it. Personally, my favorite is something like the Taric, and I think it works pretty well in LPL. Taric, one of the best supports with a lot of gold on him. Cosmic Radiance is fantastic. Bunch of heals, surprising amount of damage, and those stuns can do wonders for your squad.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a big fan of the Galio. I feel like Galio. I mean,
yeah,
I'm just a big fan of Galio anyway, but I feel like he can impact those bot lane fights a lot just because he has so much CC in his kit. But getting back to the draft, it is going to be Cheiftain going for the Jarvan once again.
Curious to see if they'll lock in the Rumble here. Just go all out for it. Because there's a lot of teams that we've seen still prioritize the Rumble very highly. IG being one of them. I think you can. I think you can just go for the Rumble here.
Well, they agree. And it's going to be locked in for Zeka. It got him MVP in game number 1. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's what Vici Gaming are saying, and they're more than happy to just go for the lock once again. Now, when we take a look towards the jungle for the side of JDG, Kanavi, only 2 bans towards that role this time, so maybe he can find something that he wants.
It's going to be a bit of a rougher patch here, though, because you know you're going into the Jarvan. Could attempt to go back towards the likes of that Rek'Sai, but hadn't got the most impactful early game. When you've got Senna and the likes of a Tahm Kench in the bottom lane, though, all you're doing is saying, look, I'm going to sacrifice this bottom lane. I want to make impacts on the rest of the map. So whatever he locks in, you'll want to make sure that he's going up and facing off against Zeka and against Cube.
Sylas going to be the pick here, and that can go in the mid lane for Yagao. We've seen a little bit of it in the jungle as well, so very much a flex pick coming through. On the other side, Cube gets his pick once again. Vici Gaming, they're happy with the result. They're just going to rinse and repeat the draft.
And this is the thing now. You can go for something like an Ezreal in the bottom lane if you want to. You've still got these late game. Like, I mean, we've seen SMLZ go for Caitlyn, but these picks that usually you'd get punished for, even the likes of Kai'Sa, but you won't have that problem against the Senna and the Tahm Kench.
That's very true. You do automatically have a very safe lane. They don't have much in the way of aggression. Lee Sin taken off the board, and this could be the punish of the lack of jungle pick. However, the Sylas could still beat the jungle. So maybe Vici Gaming could end up wasting their bans here.
I actually think that they might end up tossing the Sylas into the jungle. We've seen it a couple of times, and it works very well, especially when you've got so many ultimates that you can use on the opposite side. How about you pick up something that can push pretty well against this Rumble, or at least punish it, work well in a team fight. Orianna springs to mind for me, where you can do pretty good work in that scenario, still have a decent matchup in the mid, set up with the likes of the ultimate you can steal from Cheiftain, the equalizer as well to set things up. We'll have to see if that is what they want to go for, though.
Yeah, could even go with something like the Azir as well, that would fulfill a similar role to the Orianna, but a second jungle ban does come on through. And we'll see whether it's going to be better. I mean, if there's anyone in this league that's going to be willing to play a Sylas jungle, it'll be Kanavi.
Now I'm looking towards this top lane, though. What exactly are we going to see come through for 705? Renekton is still on the cards if they want to go for that stall. I think that could work pretty well here in just providing a front line and some sort of setup for them. Okay, okay.
We get a Lulu coming out.
So this is
we're going to see the Kog'Maw. No, okay.
I like that you answered that.
I'm already excited, but
no, I don't think it'll be the Kog'Maw.
I
think here it's going back towards why we see Bard coming in against the likes of Braum and that. You're sending your Tahm Kench. You're just looking to be a mage, be a little bit of a nuisance, and then you can survive to later on where you can be a lot more impactful in these fights. It's not like you need more engage when you're Vici. You've got the Aatrox for a flank. You've got the wombo combo in the Rumble and the Jarvan. Just leave it to the side. Have a strong backline that can help out in these team fights.
The Azir does come on through alongside the Renekton there. So strong team fighting squad, but it is going to be that Sylas in the jungle. Both of the bans from Vici Gaming going to be wasted. Oh my days, it's Christmas come early. I mean, this isn't the greatest squad to play Kog'Maw against. He typically wants to fight against tanks, but hey, I'll take a Kog'Maw pick if it's going.
Well, look, it's got 4 seconds.
Let's go.
First Kog'Maw of the LPL. Joe, I think I can see your smile from behind your mask.
I love it. I absolutely love it. If he runs the butterfly skin, I'm going to be the happiest girl in the world. But, I mean, talk to me about this Kog'Maw pick, because you're the smart one here. How does this fit compositionally?
Usually, Kog'Maw comes out when we see super tanks, but the problem that you're going to have with JDG is what we just said when we saw the Senna Tahm Kench locked in. You are going to abandon the bottom side of the map because they can't do anything. Do you know who loves bot lanes that can't do anything? Kog'Maw, because he gets to scale infinitely. And if he's allowed to set up in these fights alongside the Lulu, well, then you're in a great position. You have to only really worry about potentially the Renekton dive in your backline. Azir trying to go for that swoop and boop isn't going to work out too well in this scenario. He's going to end up going down pretty quick. So this Kog'Maw should be relatively well protected on the backside.
And it has to be said, a lot of you guys probably haven't seen a Kog'Maw for like 5 years or something in your games.
It's been a while.
He does not take as long to ramp up as he used to. He spikes incredibly hard on Blade of the Rune King these days. Watch out for the damage that can come out of that pick, because I think a lot of people will be surprised at quite how powerful Kog'Maw is in the early game.
And now you pair him up with a Lulu as well, so that Blade of the Rune King gets even more damage because you got more attack speed, further speed up. This is like the old school combo that has been allowed to be played here by JDG.
We'll see how it's going to work. I mean, I'm just excited. But it's... it was Vici, right, that rocked the Kog'Maw? Yeah,
Vici,
absolutely.
sorry.
So Vici going to be the later game team here, it feels like. Although they are against an Azir, so there is always a good bit of late game presence there.
I feel like Kog'Maw still wins that.
I mean,
feel in
Kog'Maw is
this
like
comp,
the ultimate late game candidate, right?
in this situation, if this goes to late, it is all on the Kog'Maw. And the only way that I can see this Kog'Maw getting disrupted is with Sylas stealing some of these key ultimates, tossing down an equalizer on top of him, and disrupting the trade pattern you like to go for with Kog'Maw, because you want to be able to utilize that range. Sit tight, have that the passive from the passive attack speed up from Lulu, dish out so much damage, and unfortunately for yourself, Munchables, it's Kog'Maw.
It's Kog'Maw. So honestly, if he does end up going down here, he'll deserve it. But he's not going to go down. So Kog'Maw waddles away to bark another day. But I want to revisit what we talked about right at the very start of the series. And it was that iBoy has been one of the shining lights here for Vici Gaming. In their losses, in their wins, he's been one of the major factors. And now, very much putting their eggs in the iBoy basket when they rock in a Kog'Maw. The Colonel likes it. He reckons 54% the Kog'Maw wins.
I think you're doing what I did, and it's Vici at 46%.
Oh, yeah. Well,
look, it's late. It's late here. It's 7:45. It's well past my bedtime. You know, it's getting to a late one.
I mean, that's not true, because in Ireland it's barely midday.
You're right. Yeah.
Time to get a pint in. Dear me. I don't know how well that kind of humor translates, but there you go. So, Cheiftain already showing a bit of a different playstyle here as he looks for a level 2 gank in the mid lane onto Yagao. He's still level 1. Zeka gonna get the slow with his little missiles here. And Cheiftain will look for the knock-up once this second slow comes on in. Yagao flashes, and that's what they were looking for.
And they know they're safe to go for this because Kanavi really has no trading against them right now. He's like, this Sylas is fantastic in skirmishes after he gets a few levels, when he's got the Kingslayer available. But right now, he's not going to be looking too hot when he hasn't hit that level 3.
So talk me through this Kanavi pick here, the Sylas in the jungle, because, you know, I kind of get Sylas in the mid lane, you know, early skirmisher, that kind of thing, but Sylas in the jungle, you're not going to get quite as much gold and resources. How does it play out?
It's still a very similar situation. The reason that Sylas does so well in skirmishes is more, he likes to have the Kingslayer right at the last second so he can pull back a bunch of health. He's got that single target CC, which always does well in skirmishes. And if he can have someone else set up so he can get the second part of his Q damage off, it works wonders. So Sylas jungle still does that. Yes, he gets less resources. But with the way that you've got like 705 in the top lane, you've got a bunch of CC coming through from Loken and LvMao in the bottom lane, Kanavi should still be able to skirmish relatively well in these scenarios.
There we go, Loken taking a good chunk of damage here. And I love that the observers are letting us just spectate this lane a little bit, because it's great to see how much pressure Kog'Maw can actually put on. Once you get the level in the W, the Bio Arcane Barrage offers so much damage.
Zeka is putting so much poke down in Yagao. Realized that after the last game that, hey, look, Predator wasn't really a thing, so let's just go with the Comet and go full on the hook.
Ooh, the hook comes back onto 705, but Cube's getting ganked, flashes away. Every single game, Cube seems to be in trouble in the top lane, but gets away with his life.
705 took a terror shot there that he really didn't need to. And
Took
if
an
he
Infernal
hadn't,
Chains he didn't need to.
if he hadn't, they might have been able to go for a dive here, but unfortunately, with that being the case, they're going to be forcing them to back away.
Just look at the harass that this Kog'Maw offers in the bottom lane. Loken struggling to survive it for now, but Kanavi committing to this play in the top lane. Cheiftain is here on the Jarvan. But I don't think anything else will come of this one. He's just going to be shadowing just to make sure that Cube can't be dived in the top lane.
And this works out fantastically for Vici. If you're just taking your time on JDG, you're giving this Kog'Maw the opportunity to farm up and get into a better spot. You're also looking at Cheiftain and Zeka getting to that level 6 point where they're a lot stronger.
I thought they were going to go aggressive onto
So did
iBoy
I.
there. He was getting a little bit low, and the slow from Loken from that Glacial Shroud can be incredibly oppressive.
Well, Dragon is going to be up in just a little bit of time. I think still with the way that the fasting Senna lane works, iBoy and Maestro should have control of this to work in conjunction with Chiefs and Zeka. In about a minute, Zeka will hit that level 6 point, so this is where they can try and go for plays utilizing that big ultimate.
We'll see once they do hit the level 6 mark. Both teams actually have some pretty significant spikes when they do hit level 6. Kanavi's been found, though, by Zeka, who wants a fight right now. Chieftain's just around the corner. Kingslayer will give Kanavi a lot of his health back, though. Now just a fight over the Mega Chicken. Looks like Kanavi's going to win it out by default.
Will mean that Chieftain's going to back over towards the Dragon, though. Looks at Kanavi's mana bar and goes, cool, you're not going to be doing particularly much here. Zeka's just hit that level 6 mark as well, ahead of Yagao, again out of mana. Kanavi, as much as you'd like, this Dragon is going to Vici.
Worth mentioning that Zeka doesn't have any mana either, but luckily for him, he's playing the Rumble, so he'll still be able to use his abilities even without.
That was a close one.
That's analysis.
Yeah. I see you're a Dave color casting with Jacobs.
Well, I wasn't
Oh,
color
iBoy, what are you doing?
iBoy, I mean, this is not the power of the Kog'Maw pick, but actually maybe it is. It was all a bait. Maestro's here, gets the shield. It will be just about fine. The barrier, actually, I didn't notice that his summoner spells, he actually is running the barrier, so.
They're going to go full protect. It's barrier, it's heal, it's I'm not going to die on this pick. You can even see Vamp Scepter is coming through already, working up towards that Blade of the Rune King, which means that, honestly, iBoy's going to be fine in this lane, even taking those aggressive trades. Loken in the usual...
Ooh, nice little knockback there, the Shurima Shuffle, and there's the follow-up as well. Zeka with the Equalizer actually pushes Kanavi away. Doesn't quite have the damage to finish the kill. Very nice answer from Zeka to survive.
Well played. Force them underneath the tower, and with Cheiftain hovering in the wings, they couldn't actually go for the plate. Now, Cheiftain still hovering in the wings.
He wants a solo kill right here. He's going for Kanavi. No mana on that jungler, and Zeka teleports in. Obviously, everything on cooldown for him. At least the Equalizer.
It's to put pressure onto Yagao here. Look at the mana that this Azir has. Won't really be able to do too much when it comes to forcing this wave back. So if Zeka can push this in, they can try and make a play anywhere on the map.
And it's great to see Cheiftain being the one pressuring Kanavi here. He realizes that the Sylas pick doesn't have that much early strength in it until you get a bit of AP behind you. Cheiftain making that an issue.
705 is trying to answer for that, though. Constantly shoving in this top wave and moving to either, well, steal away a camp here, but at least put pressure onto the mid lane and see if they can force Zeka back and not being able to take control of the mids.
Jeez, look at the damage onto Loken. Force the heal. This is the power of the pick. It's so much range, so much harass, and so much overextension for Vici Gaming. iBoy's in trouble. Forces the flash out of Loken. Now Kanavi's coming on in. Has the wild growth to get a knock-up if he wants it. But LvMao's gobbled up a pug, and he likes that for dinner.
Kanavi's still looking to chase. The abduct doesn't quite connect. And this is the problem. This is why we don't honestly see Kog'Maw in a lot of these situations, because in lanes like this, you can easily be picked off, and Kanavi finds the opportunity to do so.
Zeka just going to force the mid lane through with the equalizer. Gets himself a recall here. Kanavi moving up towards the mid lane. But great gank there from Kanavi, punishing this bot lane from Vici Gaming for being way too aggressive.
Weren't quite able to catch the wave. 705.
Oh, World Ender comes on through. 705 forced to flash, but the dive is coming through from Cube. Anyone criticizing Cube right now might just be right, because he's going to die to the tower. No! 705. He's got his Renekton, and he's happy to make a play.
And you made it so much more obvious. Don't criticize Cube. He's just hinting into the top lane.
Oh, I thought he had it. He seemed so confident. I believed in it. But I was so wrong.
I think he actually flashed. I don't know if we're going to get a replay. I think he might have flashed over 705 for the sweep spot on his third Darkened Blade, and that might have been why he didn't kill him.
Let's take another look. So the first two hit. Obviously, he gets this one.
Yeah. So then he's waiting on the reset, and then 1, 2, and then he flashes
missed.
over. He does. Oh,
Cube!
We're trying to help you.
Oh, no. Here we go. Streamer Shuffle. Zeka in a bit of trouble. There was actually a kill that went down during that replay. Cheiftain died to the likes of Yagao, I think. Oh, no. I think it was 705 that got the kill. Zeka's going to be going down as well. 705's on a over the last, 60 seconds, he's got himself 3 kills.
And we haven't seen one of them. We'll probably get another replay of it, but iBoy is farming in the bot lane. That doesn't matter. Renekton is 3-0. Now they're getting pressure on this mid lane as well. Yagao will be able to pick up a few of these turret plates. Where did the Rift Herald go? Okay, the Rift Herald is on Zeka, so Vici did manage to get the Rift Herald, but not the play that they want. Yeah, you can see in the bottom left corner.
Ring around the Rift Herald here, but there's no escaping the Renekton.
No. It's not the way you wanted Vici to go. We were thinking, maybe this is the game. Maybe this is where they bring their second win.
They're still looking towards the late game, let's be honest. They've got
True,
this Kog'Maw scaling up in the bottom lane. And this is very much becoming the battle between the early and the late game, because this early strength for 705 on the Renekton could be massive for them. But Vici Gaming, they want to force the issue. They're going to drop this Rift Herald in the mid lane. Cube coming down just to make sure that this can happen. LvMao and Loken have been found, though. Cheiftain deciding not to go for the Cataclysm just yet. Could be punished for that one, actually, the shield.
TP into the pit as well.
TP coming on through. Kanavi's found himself an equalizer, and that's a huge amount of damage across the entire team. Vici Gaming, they've got to go full retreat now. Zeka still holding on to his ultimate. In fact, it's just coming off cooldown now.
I think with the flash and the barrier burn by iBoy, though, they're not willing to fight right now. Doesn't have the Blade of the Rune King completed. Only got the Oblivion Orb onto Zeka. It would be a tough one to call. And especially when you've got a 3-kill Renekton that's hovering in the wings, that could be a very dangerous fight to take.
Yeah, and you have to respect that Renekton, even without kills. These are the fights that Renekton really excels in. So I like the fact that they just back away from this one, accept that they're going to fall behind a bit during this early game. And it's all... I was going to say it's in the iBoy late game win condition basket, but I don't know. That one's not looking so good right now.
It's all gone Pete Tong. No flash, no barrier. Didn't even have Maestro there in time. It's going to be JDG picking up. I don't think they'll get the tower, at least several plates. Will be kind of answered by Cube in the top lane, but Yagao is rotating to keep that one in check.
Yagao will be here. A couple of plates will go their way. And once again, Senna on the turret, not the quickest at taking these objectives. They will be able to get one more plate for themselves. Very nice play coming out from JDG, punishing Vici Gaming for such a late game AD carry. And iBoy really struggling on this pick so far.
Oh, Yagao, you are in so much trouble. Cube just pushed the wave.
Empress Divide, though. Cube's the one in trouble. Has to use the World Ender, but he's got a Lulu. He's A-okay, and he'll get a kill onto the Azir. Cheiftain nearly falls.
Yeah, that was not the way that they wanted that to go. They would have Cube to just push the wave. They then can make the play, but because they took so much damage from that, they can't keep pushing for the turret. 705 is up here, and now we're in a stalemate where, yeah, you got the kill, but all those turret plates went over to JDG in the bot, and you haven't answered.
And Kanavi is going to be rewarded with a blue buff off the back of it as well. iBoy, I think maybe walking over to check that one, but needs to be careful. Realizes that the Gromp is up and he can't keep farming, but He's alone underneath this turret. Kanavi wants to dive. He wants to fight Loken, though. Has vision, but Kanavi's here. There's the heal from the Lulu. And the shield as well. The Kog'Maw is starting to rain ooze. But it's not going to be quite enough.
It was a close one, though. Cheiftain is still here in the wings. And that was a lot of damage. And as you said, Blade of the Rune King completed. And suddenly, iBoy's popping off.
He certainly is. Well, not quite enough, though. Can't quite make the play happen.
Sorry,
Nearly
he's
got
only
the
on
kill.
that one item. We should have expected more.
Well, I mean, he nearly killed Loken.
I know.
He nearly did. Had Kanavi not arrived, that actually would have been a kill, I think. But maybe that was why Loken was playing so aggressive. Maybe it was all a bait.
It was all a ruse. We'll have to see, though, how that is going to shape things as we start to progress. Because there's a couple of different ways you can start to build this Kog'Maw. You can move back in towards a Runin's Hurricane if you want to spread the love across many different people. Or, which I think would be the correct option in this case, go for the Gwynsu's Rage Blade. I have a feeling that he's going to end up more toe-to-toe with the likes of 705, maybe Kanavi in some instances. So the single target damage will work much greater in this scenario.
I have to revisit the topic of conversation that JDG, when you look at the scoreboard, are the heavy favourites in this series. Current standings, Vici Gaming are 1-3, JDG are 3-1. Those are two very dramatically different scorelines. But this is not what we're seeing before us. Right now, obviously in game number 2, JDG do have a lead for themselves, but it was a confident win in game 1 for Vici Gaming, and it definitely doesn't feel like it's over here in game 2.
Well, we got to look again at this strength of schedule. When we look at JDG, the teams that they faced off against were OMG, WE, and V5 and FPX. Now, V5 we've kind of seen not looking so hot.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
OMG weren't in the beginning. At the start of this year, they weren't actually on the same page. There was a lot of instances of them getting caught out. Whereas on the other side, they've had to go against BLG, IG, WE as well. So the only win that Vici have got is against DMO. This is still a much tougher, I'd argue, result that they've had to go up against.
Cheiftain could be in trouble here. Already having to use his EQ. Does have the flash though, so he'll walk away safely. Dragon going to be spawning in 40 seconds. And JDG currently, they're the ones with the vision control. But we'll see if that's going to continue to be the case. 705 making sure that this bot lane is shoved out so he can rotate on up.
The thing about iBoy on this pick, though, is that they have a lot of damage on these objectives if they can approach them. The problem with the way JDG have set up this Rift Herald, though, it's nigh on impossible for iBoy to approach this fight safely. You don't know where 705 is, if he's going to be coming over a wall. Yagao could do the same, and Kanavi as well. If he's stealing something like that equalizer, iBoy's in a very big trouble.
Certainly would be. The Dragon now spawning on the map. Kanavi going to commit to this Herald. Will be able to finish this objective off for himself. And it will be traded by the looks of things as VG going to start the Dragon off.
And I think Kanavi looks to drop this straight off the bat on that top lane. Cube, you can see, has the same idea. He's backing away from the turret. So JDG looking to try and push this game forward, open up the map a little bit. Although as I say that, they spot, rightly so, the Cube is backing away.
Equalizer onto Loken. Cube trying to get onto the AD carry himself. Infernal Chain's not going to be able to find its mark. LvMao. Cataclysm forces the flash. Vici Gaming trying to force the issue, but won't find the kills.
You still have that Rift Herald available, and with the Equalizer and that Cataclysm now down, they could look to make a play here. iBoy is pretty vulnerable.
You say that. I do want to bear in mind, though, he's with a Lulu.
Either way.
It's always very deceptive.
Either way, Rift Herald goes down, half health turret. They're going to pick up this objective, and it's iBoy, as you can see, forced to back away just with a little bit of poke coming through from Yagao.
And there's a deceptive amount of items on iBoy as well, because the Ardent Sensor comes through very early from Maestro here. So it's kind of like an item and a half for iBoy when it comes to the attack speed that he's going to be able to bring to the fights. 705 getting onto Cheiftain on the sidelines. This is going to be a tier 2 forced by JDG. Very nicely done.
That's going to be a lot of gold going over to JDG. You can see now at the 18-minute mark, about a 4.5k gold lead for this JDG side. And even though we've been heavily focused on iBoy and this Kog'Maw pick, sneakily we've got Gold funneling into Yagao. Kanavi's getting a good amount. And we were already talking about 705 as well.
I have to say I'm impressed by JDG this game, especially comparatively to game number 1. They've found themselves a lead and they are snowballing with it. It feels like they have purpose. It feels like they have objectives in mind and they're doing something about it. Last game, they felt a little bit directionless.
Well, we'll have to see if that direction is going to continue forward or if Vici can try to scoot them sideways. The longer that Vici can delay this, the better. And I think now that we're looking towards, Vici having an extra dragon above JDG means that Vici don't really have to contest these dragons as they come to spawn. All they have to do is control the top half of the map, and they can wait for as long as they want for iBoy to start to scale up. That's why they're giving these resources to iBoy now. Jungle camps, farm, lane XP. Everything is to go into the Kog'Maw and see if the dog can carry.
Well, pugs typically aren't the strongest dogs, it has to be said. They're not bred for that.
Neither are butterflies.
That's where you're wrong. That's where you're wrong. Monarch Kog'Maw is the best skin, and this is a hill I am willing to die on.
Well, it won't be because of butterflies you die on it anyway.
Isn't there a rumor that butterflies carry the deadliest poison or something, but they don't have fangs? Or?
Is that not Daddy Longlegs?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
They both fly. It's an honest mistake.
Yeah, they're very similar looking creatures, unless you include everything.
Except for the wings.
Yeah. Well, so far so good for JDG. They're well and truly in control of this entire map. And we were questioning the Sylas jungle pick from Kanavi. He loves to be a little bit interested in the jungle. I was saying he's one of these players that's truly defined, really has his own style. Showing it here on the Sylas pick. It's worked wonders so far, 2-0 and 0. And he's been able to transition that into more for his team as well.
I want to see them get more, though. You can see, okay, look. I know, look, that's obvious.
The game's not over yet.
Yeah. But Baron is up on the cards. I think when we start to look at how JDG can start to influence the map, you've 705 down in the top lane, split pushing. That's fantastic. Having Yagao off here works pretty well, but they can start to look to poke out Zeka. If you've got Kanavi who can sneak in there and start to work in conjunction with Yagao to poke at Zeka in the side lane, maybe you find that opportunity to steal away the Baron. Because with Azir, you can do this objective pretty quick and stay healthy at the same time thanks to Senna.
See if they're going to be able to focus down some of these neutral objectives. And as you speak of the Baron and the neutral objectives, Dragon going to be spawning in 35 seconds. So far, the Dragons have been in favor of Vici Gaming. That one Mountain Drake going the way of JDG. But obviously, last time it was traded for a Herald. This time, there's no Herald on the map to trade for. And I don't think JDG are going to be trying to rush the Baron with a Senna.
Not anytime soon. 705 on his own. Should be able to push in this bottom wave and then collapse back to it. Kanavi's actually going to walk over here just to pick it up himself. So either way, JDG will be uncontested. We're still a fair amount away, though, as we already pointed out before, going towards that Soul or even the Elder Dragon.
Well, I just mentioned JDG definitely can't rush the Baron with a Senna. However, Vici Gaming with a Kog'Maw, he's pretty good at killing Barons.
So's Rumble, so are a lot of these champions. So
hang on, I feel like we need to clarify a little bit, just in case that there's a decent chance that there are viewers here that have never played with Kog'Maw. He's not been in the meta for a very, very long time.
Fair.
Kog'Maw's W, called BioArcane Barrage, it increases his range, but most importantly, it means his attacks do a bunch of bonus max health percent damage. Guess what Blade of the Moon King does? Max health percent damage. Kog'Maw starts to absolutely shred on max HP, so he's really, really good into tanks, really, really good at taking neutral objectives.
And he kind of hurts against squishies as well, either way. Just the pure amount of missiles that this Kog'Maw can churn out is insane. Pair that with a Lulu as well. Winsu's Rage Bay completed. There's a lot of missiles firing very quickly.
You can see that's one auto onto Loken there. He's basically in the position now where he can pretty much 4-hit the enemy AD carry.
And don't forget, Ardent Sensor gives you on-hit magic damage as well. So this is a lot of punch packed behind each of these bits.
There's a Rage Blade there as well. That's a massive power spike, so the attack speed will be there, the extra magic damage will be there, but most importantly, the armor penetration will be there too.
So JDG have to play respectfully. I don't know how iBoy is going to fare in these fights, though. I already said, you know, Kanavi's going to have a pretty big ultimate if he can steal away the equalizer. If iBoy is able to avoid that equalizer, he's in fantastic shape to take over these team fights now. And that's why we can see JDG are hovering on the edge of his range. They don't actually want to take a fight against him. They want to see if they can just outmaneuver Vici at the moment, because that's the downside of Kog'Maw. Kog'Maw is not a mobile champion, which is often why we see him paired with something like a Lulu to give him that speed buff and that survivability in these team fights.
Lulu can make just about anyone a mobile champion, to be quite honest, so it's going to be a lot down to iBoy's mechanics when it comes down to the fights. And Kog'Maw is one of those champions that no matter what game he's in, he has a way to make the entire game about him. It's one of those kind of champions that you just have to focus on. No matter what you like, no matter what you want to focus on, Kog'Maw is the carry.
And that's why he's got, what, nearly 60 to 70 CS higher than anyone else on his team?
iBoy already exhausted here. He's going to be in a lot of trouble. Having to flash, but it's not the best one. And it's into a massive Renekton here. You've been saying whether or not iBoy's going to be up to the task. Not so far, 0-3.
And now this gives JDG the opportunity to break open this base. He's a mid inhibitor. They'd love to be able to take a different one. But at this stage, with iBoy down, this should be going across with the minion line eventually going to get there.
A long time for the minions to get here. Equalizer should be able to clear the wave. Here we go, dive coming in. Kanavi, the first one to charge on in. The Wild Growth keeping him alive for now. And that's going to be Zeka pushed into the fight. Keeps himself alive with a shield. And Yagao falls. They've bitten off more than they can chew. And now 705 trying to retreat as Cube dishes out the damage. Renekton barely survives. No, he goes down to Zeka. And it's a 2-for-1 in favor of VG.
And JDG go too deep. They think, okay, iBoy's down. We can take this fight. But it's only 25 minutes into the game. They don't really have the tanky members who can take all the brunt of the towers. And as well, Zeke is still Rumble. This is still a 2-item Rumble that hits like a truck at this point in the game. And you saw it come through there, even without the equalizer. Vici turned that fight.
So it looks like iBoy might actually go for a wit's end here. Has the MR and the dagger.
It's a really good call. We said it already, what you're looking out for is maybe a stray soldier from Yagao, but realistically it's Kanavi's damage stealing away a Rumble ultimate or jumping onto you with the likes of Maestro's ultimate. So having a wit's end gives you that survivability and make sure that if you do manage to find yourself caught in an equalizer or at the whim of Kanavi, you can try and just out DPS and sustain through the damage.
Well, you can see in the gold there, everything in the iBoy basket. And you can see it in the CS numbers as well. 280 CS almost for iBoy. He's been given the mid lane, he's been given the jungle, and he's able to farm up whatever he pleases.
And it is the two big guys we're talking about. Yagao is at 250, iBoy is at 280. Both teams realize that we have to invest into the late game carries if we want to win this one.
Could have a fight on our hands here. Kanavi grabs himself an equalizer. Certainly a good ultimate to find. But I don't think he's got an opportunity to start anything. Ocean Drake will be the next one on the map. But importantly here, neither team on Soul Point just yet. So if Vici Gaming do want to just give this dragon up, it is an option for them, and it won't be too big of an issue.
I would love if Vici would fight for this, though. The problem that they're having at the moment is that they're giving over all these objectives. And well, look, I'd like to see them fight for it. They have to have set up prior to it. The thing about Kog'Maw is that if you're not at the objectives first, well, then you end up losing out because you can't move in case there's a different flanks or anything like that that can come in to ruin your day. Getting that Ocean Drake could work out super well for Vici, though, because you're going to have that double Ocean sustain. Helps out in keeping your backline alive, even keeping your front line alive long enough to allow iBoy to do work. And especially if you can get the soul, that would be absolutely stellar for Vici. JDG, though, are the ones that pick it up uncontested. Now they're picking up the bot lane turret. And they're putting pressure onto Vici, forcing them back into the base, so then they're not able to get out on the map, try and rush something like the Bard, or even find team fights that are in favor of iBoy.
Zeka gets a tier 1 in the top lane, but he trades it for a tier 2 bot. Gets the recall off just to get to the rest of his team. I think the hijack was about to run out on the equalizer.
It is pretty good, though, for Vici now. They should be able to step onto the map. With that big ultimate down, not going to be an issue for iBoy trying to move in these team fights because of the slow from equalizer. And suddenly, Vici burst out onto the map, and they're pinging towards that Baron.
Yeah, the biggest issue
They're all backing.
Hijack is a very short cooldown. It's already halfway done. Kanavi may even have it for the next fight, unless Vici Gaming can punish right now.
But with iBoy backing, it's not going to be right now. They've got Cube clearing out bot lane waves. And look, I'm not 100% convinced as to what way this fight goes. I think if iBoy can set up correctly, Vici 100% win this. But that's a big if, because he doesn't have a lot of protection here that you would in a regular Kog'Maw comp. And JDG have started up the Baron.
Yeah, Yagao's got to a point in the game now where he's strong enough to just rush this kind of objective. VG know what's going down. Equalizer into the pit. It's all going to be on Cheiftain. Can he steal this one away? He got eaten up by LvMao, though, and it's going to go the way of Kanavi. There's a kill to boot. And now the team fight ensues. iBoy on the front line right now. Dawning Shadow does nothing to him. And on to the rest of the team. iBoy is still surviving for a bit, but the rest of his team falling all around him. And JDG, they're not giving this composition even a moment to breathe.
We said it, iBoy needs to be there before the fights kick off so they can get themselves settled and have full control for iBoy to enter the fight. iBoy was late to the party, wasn't in a position to try and threaten JDG, and still has to be careful if he's going to play that forward close to Renekton.
It's going to be alright for now. 5 seconds until Cheiftain comes back up, but it's still 20 seconds on Cube. This could well be the top lane inhib falling. This is one of the issues when you don't go for the Hurricane in the Kog'Maw build. Grouped up team fights become much more difficult. He's basically relying on being a 4-item Kog'Maw. That's a long time to wait.
And it's beautiful timing here for the Baron buff and the Ocean Drake. Because you're going to have your Baron timeout just as that Ocean Drake spawns, so you get the most amount of use out of it, and then you can back away towards the Ocean Dragon. As you said, without Runins on iBoy, the team fights are going to be a little bit tricky in these close quarter combats, but even more so, trying to enter into that Dragon Pit when you're moving through jungle corridors that's set up for Yagao, or set up for Kanavi stealing Zeka's ultimate. This is looking pretty tough now for Vici, and what was, unfortunately, Munchables, your crowning moment for your Kog'Maw.
I know, I'm so sad. I just want Kog'Maw to win. I want to see more Kog'Maw. I love Kog'Maw. It's not going to happen, though, is it?
No.
It's all gone wrong. To be fair, though, we've seen meta picks have a terrible first game before.
Well, I think this is just more Vici don't have the setup. If you had the likes of an Ornn in the top lane, if you had, actually, I'm not. Well, even something along the lines of Elise or something to just provide a little bit more CC for the backline could work really well here. But because you've got the Jarvan and the Rumble, you want to go forward, whereas iBoy wants to play back, you end up in this weird scenario where they can't really synergize together.
iBoy just doesn't really do that much damage right now, although getting onto Kanavi here, he's gone way too far forward. Wildgrowth keeps him alive though, equalizer across the team. iBoy still surviving, finally falls. It's 7-5 to get the kill, and the rest of the team fight's all falling apart. If you put all your eggs in one basket and that basket is dropped, then the eggs break. That's how the world works, I'm afraid, boys and girls. 14-4 in JDG. They're going to walk this one home. This is looking to be the end of the game.
This has been your physics lesson with Munch, and now it's going to be a lesson in pain from JDG.
I'm just so sad about the Kog'Maw, but I'm happy for JDG because game one looked really rough for them. We've seen a bit of a bounce back now, and a confident victory over Vici Gaming evens them up in the series and pushes us to game 3.
And this is why you don't give control to JDG of the early game. They are very good if Kanavi's given free roam. At the beginning, it looked like, okay, Jarvan's got a little bit of this. He's going to be able to control, keep Kanavi in his check while iBoy looks to scale. But once you have a 7-1-5 or 7-1-2 Renekton in the top lane, 705 is going to be able to take over this game.
705 is a monster. And one of the big things as well is the Ruthless Predator, the W from Renekton, removes shields. This composition is based around Kog'Maw being able to get shields and survive these fights. So suddenly it becomes very difficult to keep iBoy alive.
And they weren't able to do it at all in that scenario. So I think coming back to the drawing board, yes, it works in theory that you can have iBoy scale up. You can see there a lot of damage in this game. But unfortunately, if you don't have a front line or a protection to allow him to set up, well, it's all for naught.
Hey, it would work really well into the double tank, the Maokai-On composition that we saw the other day. So I'm just saying, don't give up on the Kog'Maw just yet. The damage alone here is a good argument for the Kog'Maw. It just didn't work out this time, okay?
I'm not convinced. I'm sorry.
You're not
sorry,
convinced?
Munch. I'm just not convinced. I don't know.
Watch this space, all right?
I'm
telling you it's good.
I think it just takes too long to get going. You give up so much. This is the same problem I had with Kiana Jungle back in the day. Is that, yes, you'll have this big team fight moment where you go, Kog'Maw's won it, we're all great, or Kiana's won it, it's all great. But you give up so much control to start things off that the other team is allowed to run away with it. You lose towers, you lose objectives, and then you're like, well, our Kog'Maw's almost there.
So, I will say, though, just because you have a late game carry in a lead does not mean you have to have no presence anywhere else in the map. It's not like Vici Gaming couldn't fight for absolutely anything ever. They could have maybe been a little bit more proactive. Like, Kog'Maw is not a minion.
You're really passionate about this Kog'Maw, aren't you?
I'm just saying it's the best pick of the game. That's all I'm saying, you know? It's not. I don't think that's that controversial of a statement.
No. I mean, look, we'll let the Twitter fans freak themselves on how Kog'Maw's going to go. But either way, not the pick that worked out for Vici this time around. We now find ourselves back in the 1-1. And I'm glad to see JDG coming back to what we expect from JDG. Very strong top and mid. Yagao, it was Zoom, now 705. Kanavi playing to those trends. And Senna, I was very surprised to see this come through the ban phase. Because for me, it is what this JDG wants. They want to just abandon bot side in a lot of situations and play towards the top. We have seen some iterations of them play towards Loken in the bottom side. But most of the time, they're just going to leave it be. So I give them Senna and just go, here's a free roam to go for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, because they want a Kog'Maw. That's why.
Well,
there's an easy answer to that one.